Ladies and gentlemen, there are many people today who are walking around alive, but not free. They're breathing, but bound. Their hands aren't tied. Their feet aren't shackled, but their soul is imprisoned by one thing. They have never learned to forgive themselves. You see, forgiveness is not just something you extend to others. It is something you must extend to yourself every single day. Too many of us have built a prison out of our past mistakes. We replay what we should have done differently, how we should have spoken better, what choices we should have made. And instead of learning from it, we keep condemning ourselves with it. But hear me when I tell you, you cannot undo what has already been done, but you can choose not to let it undo you. Every morning you wake up, you need to declare to your soul, I forgive myself. I release myself. I am not my past. I am not my failures. I am not my mistakes. Why is this so important? Because guilt is heavy, shame is paralyzing, and self-condemnation is deadly. When you hold on to guilt, you cannot hold on to growth. When you cradle your shame, you cannot carry your destiny. You are not designed to live under constant regret. Do you realize that even the most successful people failed more times than they succeeded? The difference is they didn't let the failure define them. They forgave themselves, picked themselves up, and moved forward. The reason some people never reach the fullness of their purpose is not because of what others did to them, but because of what they keep doing to themselves. Forgiving yourself daily is not about ignoring responsibility. It's about recognizing that you are human, you are growing, and you are becoming. Every day is a fresh page. Every sunrise is a chance to write a new chapter. But you can't write tomorrow's chapter with the ink of yesterday's pain. You are not what you did. You are who you are becoming, the person you hurt yesterday, the opportunity you missed last year, the wrong word you spoke last week. Yes, it happened, but it doesn't have to be your identity, because when you do, you'll discover that peace returns, joy rises, and hope becomes alive again. You'll look in the mirror and see not the weight of your mistakes, but the possibility of your future. When you walk like that, free, whole, released, you become unstoppable. When we think about forgiveness, our minds often run to the faces of those who wronged us. We think of the betrayals, the disappointments, the hurts that left us bleeding in silence. We think about family members who didn't support us, friends who turned their backs on us, people who took advantage of our kindness. And yes, forgiveness in that direction matters. Forgiveness releases us from the bitterness that chains us to what others have done. It frees us from carrying their poison in our veins. But what many never realize is that forgiveness is not just for others. Forgiveness is something you must give to yourself. If you want to truly live free, you see too many people are in prison, but not the kind you can see. They walk freely in the daylight, they laugh, they smile, they go to work, they post their pictures online, but inside they are locked away in a cell built by their own regret. The walls are made of what ifs. The floor is cemented with, I should have known better, and the ceiling presses down with, I can't believe I did that. They are not living in the moment. They are living in a replay. And as long as you are stuck in a replay of your mistakes, you can never step into the play of your destiny. Forgiveness, it is only directed outward, is incomplete. Yes, release others, let them go. Don't let bitterness rot your soul. If you do not turn that same grace inward, if you do not stand in the mirror and extend compassion to the person staring back at you, you will still live burdened. Because let me tell you something, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You can excuse the stranger. You can understand the family member. You can even rationalize the betrayal of a friend. But when it comes to you, when it comes to your own choices, your own slip-ups, your own flaws, it feels unforgivable. You know what you did. You know what you said. You know where you went wrong. And that knowledge can become a whip you beat yourself with every single day. But forgiveness is not just for others. Forgiveness is the medicine you must administer to your own heart if you want to heal. No one else can do that for you. People can encourage you. They can support you. They can cheer you on. But if you are bound by your own refusal to forgive yourself, you will sabotage every good thing that comes your way. You'll think you don't deserve it. You'll think you're unworthy of love, unworthy of opportunity, unworthy of joy. And so you'll push it away. You'll deny yourself happiness because deep down you still see yourself as guilty. What you have to understand is that forgiving yourself is not about ignoring what you did wrong. It is about refusing to let it define your life. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, you spoke words you wish you could take back. Yes, you hurt people, including yourself. None of that changes the truth that you are still capable of being whole. None of that cancels the fact that your future is still waiting on you. None of that removes the possibility of redemption, growth, and new beginnings. Imagine carrying a heavy rock on your back every single day. At first, you might manage. You can still move, though slower. But after a while, the weight becomes unbearable. Your back bends, your pace slows, your energy drains. That's what it's like to live without forgiving yourself. You are carrying the rock of regret, and it is breaking you down little by little. The tragedy is that you hold the key to put it down. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need the courage to say, I release myself. Forgiveness is not just for others. It is for you because you cannot heal if you keep punishing yourself. You cannot move forward if you keep chaining yourself to yesterday. Think about it. How many opportunities have passed you by because you thought, I'm not good enough? How many relationships have been sabotaged because you couldn't believe you were worthy of being loved? How many dreams have been buried because you couldn't let go of the mistakes of the past? That's what happens when you withhold forgiveness from yourself. You kill your future while mourning your past. You must learn to speak life to yourself. Stop rehearsing your failures. Stop magnifying your mistakes. Start reminding yourself that you are growing, you are learning, you are evolving. Even the things that hurt you can teach you. Even the moments you regret can shape you. And once you forgive yourself, those same wounds that once made you hide in shame will become the scars that testify of your resilience. I know some people think, but if I forgive myself, won't I just excuse my behavior? Won't I repeat it? No. Forgiveness is not about pretending it never happened. Forgiveness is about acknowledging it did happen, but refusing to let it destroy you. Forgiveness is about looking your past in the eye and saying, you will not control me anymore. Forgiveness is about breaking free from the cycle of self-condemnation so you can step into a life of self-compassion. Every new day you wake up, you have a fresh chance to start again. Life itself is a gift of forgiveness. Sunrise is proof that yesterday didn't kill you. Today can still heal you. If life itself gives you another chance, why can't you give yourself one too? Why are you so quick to pardon others but so slow to pardon yourself? Why are you so generous with mercy when it comes to others, so stingy when it comes to your own soul? Forgiveness is not just for others. It is the doorway to peace, the bridge to healing, the key to unlocking your future. And when you finally forgive yourself, when you finally lay down that rock of regret, you will feel lighter. You will breathe easier. You will stand taller, and you will walk into tomorrow not as a prisoner yesterday, but as a survivor, a thriver, believer in the beauty of new beginnings. So let today be the day you stop carrying the weight. Let today be the day you say, I am forgiven. I am free. Not just for what others have done to you, but for what you have done to yourself. Because the truth is, forgiveness was never just about them. It was always about you too. There is a truth we all must face at some point in life. The past cannot be changed. No matter how many times you replay it in your mind, no matter how many sleepless nights you spend wishing it had gone differently, no matter how many tears you shed, the past remains exactly what it is, unchangeable. And yet so many people live as if they could go back and rewrite it. They hold on to the if only and what if like they are sacred. They replay conversations, regret decisions, and mourn opportunities long gone. In doing so, they don't just remember the past, they let it undo them. But here's the truth. While you cannot change the past, you can absolutely choose not to be undone by it. You cannot go back, but you can decide how you go forward. You cannot edit what already happened, You can write the next chapter differently. That is where your power lies, not in yesterday, but in today and tomorrow. Too many people are prisoners of their past. They wear invisible chains, shackled by guilt, shame, and regret. They say things like, if I had only made a better choice, if I had only seen it coming, if I had only been stronger. And because they cannot go back, they get stuck in depression, stuck in bitterness, stuck in anger at themselves. They let their past mistakes bleed into their present moments, and their past failures steal the brightness of their future. But life was never meant to be lived backward. If you keep staring at the rearview mirror, you cannot move safely into the road ahead. The car of your destiny will crash if you spend all your time looking back instead of forward. Yes, the past may carry lessons. Yes, the past may shape you. But the past was never meant to define you. If you break a glass, it cannot be unbroken. No matter how carefully you try to put the shards back together, it will never look the same. But that broken glass can be remade, reshaped, even transformed into something new, a mosaic, an artwork, a reminder that beauty can rise even out of brokenness. That is how life works. What is shattered may not be restored exactly the same, but it can be made into something greater, something with more character, something with more strength. You cannot change the past, but you can choose to transform the pain of your past into the wisdom of your future. You can decide to let your mistakes be teachers rather than tormentors. You can let what was meant to bury you become the very soil in which your new self grows. That choice is, here's the danger: when you let the past undo you, you stop living. You stop believing. You stop trying. You begin to exist in survival mode, haunted by what was, instead of reaching for what could be. That is why some people never step into their calling. Not because they are not talented, not because they are not capable, but because they let their past defeat them before they ever even try again. But let me tell you something. Past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. You are not supposed to pitch a tent there. You are not supposed to build a home there. You are supposed to glance back, take the lesson, and keep moving. Living in the past is like trying to walk forward while dragging a corpse on your back. It will weigh you down. It will wear you out. It will kill your spirit. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, you trusted the wrong people. Yes, you wasted time. But no, that does not have to be the end of your story. Every single day you wake up, you are given a new opportunity to decide, will I let yesterday undo me, or will I rise and write a new page? You cannot undo the words you spoke in anger, but you can learn to speak with more wisdom today. You cannot undo the relationship you lost, but you can choose to love better, deeper, and wiser in the future. You cannot undo the time you wasted. You can use the time you have left with intentionality and purpose. And here's the miracle. Sometimes the very things you regret the most become the very things that equip you to help others. Pain you wish you could erase becomes the tool that allows you to reach someone else in their darkest moment. That failure you thought would destroy you becomes the fuel that drives you to succeed. That weakness you once despised becomes the well of compassion that makes you human enough to connect with someone else's struggle. Do not be undone by what you cannot change. Instead, be remade by it. Be refined by it. Be strengthened by it. Do not waste your energy trying to rewrite what cannot be rewritten. Invest your energy into creating what can still be written. Because no matter how many chapters in your life story are filled with regret, the book is not over. There are still blank pages waiting for you to write. So stop saying if only by, and start saying from now on. Stop mourning what you cannot change and start celebrating the fact that you still have today. Stop rehearsing your failures and start rehearsing your possibilities. There are two heavyweights that have knocked more people down than failure ever could: guilt and shame. Failure happens to everyone. Setbacks are universal. Mistakes are part of being human. But guilt and shame, those are different. Guilt whispers, you did something wrong. Shame screams, you are something wrong. And when those voices take root, they paralyze you. They hold you hostage. They keep you from growing into the person you were designed to be. Some people wonder why they keep circling the same mountains, why they never seem to break through, why they remain stuck in the same patterns. It is not because they lack talent. It is not because they don't have opportunity. It is not even because they don't desire change. It is because guilt and shame have tied their feet to the ground while their dreams are begging to take flight. You cannot soar when your wings are clipped by condemnation. You cannot grow when your soul is poisoned by shame. Think of a seed. A seed has potential locked inside of it: trees, fruit, shade, beauty, life. But if you bury that seed in toxic soil, it cannot grow. Poison seeps in and kills what was meant to bloom. That's exactly what guilt and shame do to your life. They create a toxic environment inside your heart and mind. You try to move forward, but you keep looking backward. You try to step out. You keep hearing the replay of your mistakes. You try to grow, but the weight of your past keeps pulling you under. Guilt and shame paralyze growth because they lie to you about who you are. Guilt says, because of what you did, you don't deserve better. Shame says, because of who you are, you'll never be better. And the more you listen, the more you start to believe. Before long, you aren't just carrying guilt, you've made guilt your identity. You aren't just ashamed of what happened. You've become the shame itself. When you believe you are broken beyond repair, you stop trying to heal. But let me remind you of something: your mistakes do not erase your potential. Your failures do not cancel your future. Your missteps do not destroy your value. Guilt and shame are liars, and they exaggerate your past to blind you from your promise. You may have stumbled, but you are still standing. You may have fallen, but you are not finished. You may have made bad choices, but you are not a bad person. You are a person who can learn, who can change, who can grow. The danger of guilt and shame is that they convince you to stay small. They convince you not to try again. They make you hide your gifts. They make you bury your voice. They make you sabotage relationships because you think you don't deserve to be loved. They make you shrink from opportunities because you believe you're not worthy of success. They silence your laughter. They choke your joy. They steal your peace. How many dreams have died because someone couldn't forgive themselves? How many lives have remained unfulfilled because someone allowed shame to convince them they weren't enough? How many purposes have gone unrealized because guilt shouted louder than grace? That's what happens when guilt and shame become your compass. You never move forward. You just walk in circles. Growth begins the moment you confront guilt and shame for what they are: false captors. They keep you bound only because you allow them to. They paralyze you only because you believe their lies. When you stand up and declare, I am not my mistake, I am not my shame, I am not my guilt, I am more than what I did, I am more than what happened to me, the chains begin to fall. You have to understand that growth requires space. A flower cannot bloom if the soil is poisoned. But when you clear out the weeds, when you let the light in, when you water it with grace, suddenly life begins to spring forth. In the same way, your growth requires the removal of guilt and shame. It requires a cleansing of your soul, renewal of your mind, a release of your heart. You cannot be paralyzed and progressive at the same time. You cannot carry shame and step into freedom simultaneously. You cannot nurture guilt and expect to give birth to greatness. At some point, you must decide, will I let guilt and shame paralyze me, or will I let grace and growth empower me? Growth doesn't mean perfection. Growth means progress. Growth means you don't have to stay where you are. Growth means you learn, you rise, you evolve. Guilt wants you to believe that one mistake is the end. Shame wants you to believe that one season defines your whole life. But growth reminds you that you are always becoming. Don't let guilt and shame silence your voice. Don't let them convince you that you're disqualified. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are not those who never failed, but those who failed and chose to rise anyway. Some of the most impactful voices are not those who never felt shame, but those who overcame it and now speak freedom into others. Some of the most inspiring stories are not of perfect people, but of broken people who dared to grow beyond their brokenness. So if guilt is holding you, let it go. If shame is chaining you, break free. You are not a prisoner unless you accept the sentence. You are not paralyzed unless you surrender to the lie. You have the power to move forward. You have the ability to start again. You have the right to forgive yourself, release yourself, and grow. Stand tall. Lift your head, shake off the lies, speak truth over yourself. You are worthy of growth. You are capable of change. You are strong enough to rise. When you let go of guilt and shame, you will discover that growth is not only possible, it is unstoppable. We live in a world that fears failure. From the time we are young, we are told not to make mistakes, not to stumble, not to get it wrong. We are trained to believe that if we fail, it means we are weak, unworthy, or incapable. And so many people go through life walking on eggshells, terrified of taking risks, terrified of trying again, terrified of falling short. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. Failure is not the enemy of your destiny. Failure is a companion on the road to becoming. Every person you admire, every leader you respect, every success story you celebrate has one thing in common. They failed and failed and failed again. What separates them from those who gave up is not perfection, but perseverance. They learned that failure is not a tombstone, it is a stepping stone. It is not the end of the story. It is part of the process. Failure is part of becoming because becoming requires refining. You do not grow strong without resistance. You do not learn wisdom without mistakes. You do not discover your true capacity until you are stretched beyond your comfort. And failure is often the fire that refines you, teacher that instructs you, the storm that shapes you. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble. They fall, they bump into tables, wobble and collapse. But no one looks at that child and says, "You'll never walk. Look at you. You keep failing." No, we cheer them on. We understand that falling is part of walking. Failure is part of learning. And if they keep getting up step by step, eventually they find their stride. Why is it then that when we grow older, we forget this truth? Why is it that we treat our own failures as final when in reality, they are just evidence that we are in the process of becoming? Failure is not a sign that you are broken. Failure is a sign that you are trying. Failure means you had the courage to step out. It means you refused to stay in the shadows. It means you put your faith to the test. Yes, you may have fallen. At least you moved. At least you tried. And in trying, you learned something you could never have learned sitting safely on the sidelines. Failure teaches you resilience. It builds in you a strength that success never could. When everything goes right, you learn how to celebrate. But when things go wrong, you learn how to endure. You discover what you are made of. You uncover resources of strength, determination, creativity you didn't know you had. And those discoveries become the very fuel that propels you forward. Some of the greatest inventions, some of the most powerful movements, some of the strongest people were born out of failure. They didn't give up when the door closed. They didn't quit when the plan collapsed. They didn't let shame keep them stuck. They realized that failure is feedback, not finality. Failure is redirection, not rejection. Failure is a teacher, not a curse. But here's the problem: too many people misinterpret failure. They treat it as a verdict instead of a lesson. They say, "I failed, therefore I am a failure." No, you failed, therefore you are learning. You failed, therefore you are human. You failed, therefore you are in motion. The only people who never fail are the people who never try. And to never try is to never become. Becoming is messy. It is not a straight line. It is filled with detours, wrong turns, and dead ends. But every misstep shapes you. Every setback strengthens you. Every fall humbles you. And together they create the person you were destined to become. Without failure, you would lack depth. Without failure, you would lack empathy. Without failure, you would lack the grit that makes you unstoppable. Failure strips away the illusion of control. It reminds you that you don't know everything, you can't do everything, and you need to grow. That humility is powerful because humility opens the door to wisdom. Wisdom is born not in success, but in reflection after failure. Wisdom is what allows you to rise stronger, clearer, and more focused than before. Failure also prepares you for responsibility. Imagine receiving success too soon without the maturity to handle it. Success without failure makes you reckless, arrogant, and careless. But success after failure makes you grateful, wise, and intentional. It teaches you to value what you've been given because you know what it cost you to get there. So stop despising your failures. Stop cursing the moments you fell short. Stop letting shame convince you that your mistakes disqualify you. Failure is not a sign that you are disqualified. It is proof that you are in training. It is evidence that you are still on the journey of becoming. Look back at your own life. Some of your greatest strengths today were forged in the fire of yesterday's failures. Some of your most profound lessons came from moments you thought would break you. Some of the people you've helped were touched not by your perfection, by your ability to say, I've been there too, but I didn't stay there. That's the power of failure. It connects you, it shapes you, it grows you. And let me tell you, this failure is not fatal. It only becomes fatal when you give up. It only destroys you when you decide that falling means you cannot rise. As long as there is breath in your body, as long as there is strength in your bones, you have another chance. You have another try. You have another tomorrow. Failure may visit, but it does not have to move in. You are not defined by one season of your life. You are not defined by one mistake. You are not defined by one chapter. Failure is just a page in the book. It is not the whole story. And if you keep turning the page, if you keep writing, if you keep believing, you will see that failure was only the setup for a greater comeback. So the next time you stumble, don't hang your head in defeat. Lift it high and remind yourself, this is not the end. This is part of my becoming. The next time someone points out your mistakes, don't let shame take over. Smile and say, yes, I failed, but I'm still growing. The next time you feel like giving up, remember that failure is not a signal to quit. It is an invitation to rise stronger, so embrace it, learn from it, grow through it. Let failure refine you, shape you, and prepare you, because the truth is you will fail on your way to becoming. But if you don't quit, if you keep rising, if you keep pressing, you will discover that failure was never meant to break you. It was meant to build you. Forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is not a moment you check off your list and never revisit. Forgiveness is a lifestyle, a daily practice, a discipline that must be exercised again and again. Because life keeps happening. People keep disappointing. Mistakes keep being made. And wounds, whether inflicted by others or by ourselves, don't always heal overnight. If you want to live free, whole, and unburdened, you must learn that forgiveness is not an event. It is a daily choice. Every day you wake up with new opportunities, but you also wake up with old memories. The mind has a way of rehearsing yesterday's pain. Something as small as a smell, a word, or a song can bring it all rushing back. The betrayal, the argument, the regret. If forgiveness were just a one-time thing, those triggers would trap you over and over. But when forgiveness becomes daily, when it becomes your rhythm, when it becomes your habit, you are no longer at the mercy of yesterday's wounds. You are actively choosing freedom every single day. Think about it. You don't eat once and say, that meal will carry me for life. You don't breathe once and say, that breath will sustain me forever. No. You eat daily. You breathe continuously because life demands it. Forgiveness is the same way. You cannot forgive once and expect it to carry you through every offense, every mistake, every regret. Forgiveness must be renewed. It must be refreshed. It must be practiced. Forgiveness must be daily because offenses come daily. Sometimes they are small, a careless word, an overlooked gesture, a missed call. Other times they are heavy, betrayals, lies, rejections that cut deep. But whether big or small, if you do not release them daily, they begin to pile up. And before long, your heart becomes cluttered with resentment, bitterness, pain. Just as dust builds in a house if you never clean, bitterness builds in a soul if you never forgive. Forgiveness is the sweeping that clears your spirit. But it's not just about forgiving others. It's about forgiving yourself too. Every day, you make choices, some good, some bad, some wise, some foolish. And if you do not forgive yourself daily, you will carry the weight of your mistakes into every new morning. You will wake up already defeated, already guilty, already chained to yesterday. Forgiveness must be daily because guilt and shame don't expire overnight. They creep back in with the dawn unless you confront them with grace. Some people struggle with this because they think forgiveness means weakness. They think forgiving daily means excusing people's actions or letting themselves off the hook too easily. But forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. It takes more courage to release than to retaliate. It takes more power to move forward than to remain stuck. Forgiveness is not excusing what happened. It is refusing to let what happened poison your heart another day. Daily forgiveness is also necessary because healing is a process. When someone wounds you deeply, you may forgive them once, but the scar still aches when pressed. When regret runs deep in your own soul, you may forgive yourself once, but the memory still lingers. Each day that pain resurfaces, you have to forgive again, because the first forgiveness didn't work, but because healing takes time. Just as a wound needs daily care to close properly, your soul needs daily forgiveness to fully heal. Forgiveness must be daily because life is too short to waste on carrying grudges. Time is precious. Every second spent replaying what someone did to you is a second stolen from your future. Every moment wasted on hating yourself for yesterday is a moment robbed from today. You cannot get that time back. And when you live without daily forgiveness, you lose not only your joy, you lose your time. You lose your peace. You lose your focus. Picture a traveler on a long journey. Every day they pick up a rock and place it in their backpack. Eventually the load becomes unbearable. They may still walk, but every step is harder, slower, more painful. Forgiveness is putting down the rock each day before it weighs you down. Forgiveness is saying, I will not add another stone to my soul. Without daily forgiveness, you won't make it very far. You'll collapse under the weight of offenses and regrets. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the wound didn't matter. It means the wound won't master you. It means you choose to live free, even if the scar remains. It means you honor yourself enough to say, I will not carry this into another day. Daily forgiveness transforms you. It softens your heart. It clears your vision. It restores your joy. It reminds you that you are not meant to be bitter. You are meant to be better. It teaches you patience. It builds resilience. It makes you wise. And over time, you discover that forgiving daily doesn't just heal the past, it prepares you for the future. Because the truth is, your destiny requires space. Growth requires room. You cannot step fully into who you are meant to be if you are dragging the chains of yesterday. Every morning you must choose. Will I pick up resentment, or will I pick up freedom? Will I carry guilt, or will I carry grace? Will I live bound, or will I live released? Forgiveness must be daily because life itself is daily. Every sunrise is a chance to begin again. Every morning is a new chapter. You cannot write the next chapter if your hands are full of the last one. You must put it down. You must release it. You must forgive. So today, decide that forgiveness will be your daily bread. Wake up each morning and say, I forgive them. Wake up each morning and say, I forgive myself. Wake up each morning and say, I choose freedom. Do it again tomorrow. Do it again the day after. Keep doing it until forgiveness becomes second nature. And when you live in that rhythm, when forgiveness flows like your heartbeat, you will walk lighter, love deeper, and live freer than you ever imagined. Not because life is perfect, not because people stop hurting you, not because you stop making mistakes, but because you choose day after day to forgive. So don't wait. Don't carry the weight of yesterday into today. Grudges grow roots. Don't let guilt chain you another hour. Forgive today. Forgive tomorrow. Forgive every day. Because forgiveness must be daily if you want to truly live free.